WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. The Azawad Liberation Front, FLA of Mali, rejects the newly submitted peace charter and rules out any room for negotiation. Senegalese head of state, Diomaye Faye, arrives in Togo as part of his two-nation West African tour. Niger to mark second anniversary of its military coup on Saturday, July 26, amid escalating insecurity.
Since the
arrival of the CNSP, there has been a lot of evolution. The security aspect is very positive. They said they will fight insecurity so that Nigerians can live in complete security in the territory. First with the insecurity that we are facing.
And the European Union pledges support to Nigeria in the areas of security and humanitarian relief efforts.
We are trying to harness this dynamism and working through a global gateway strategy on sectors like health, digital economy, renewable energy, climate-smart agriculture, and at the same time also address needs in terms of education and humanitarian needs like in nutrition in particular.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Let's begin in the Sahel for three major developing stories. First in Mali, where a rebel group has rejected the government's national charter for peace in the country. The Azawad Liberation Front, FLA, in a statement on Thursday also rules out any dialogue with the transitional authorities against the backdrop of rebuilding peace and trust. Recall the National Charter for Peace and Reconciliation was submitted to the transitional president, Army General Assimi Goïta, on Tuesday after review. FLA's rejection of the charter also comes days after the Malian army intercepted a huge consignment of military hardware Farmer said was on its way to an armed group. Christopher Ticho reports.
The Azawad Liberation Front, FLA, in a statement argued that the National Charter in its current form is far from being the product of a genuine peace process and constitutes a delaying political tactic. Mohammed El Mawood Ramadan, a spokesperson for the FLA, insists that the document is intended to restore the tarnished image of a regime lacking legitimacy. The independent movement states that it is not seeking any mediation and it is not considering any form of negotiation with an illegitimate military regime. According to the Azawad movement, the transitional authority led by Army General Assimi Goïta cannot alter its unwavering commitment to the total reconquest of the territory of Azawad. Bamako has yet to respond through any published statement or broadcast information. The charter, composed of 16 titles, 39 chapters and 106 articles, was presented as a sovereign alternative to the Algiers Agreement denounced in January 2024. The document provides mechanisms to resolve community conflict and reintegrate ex-combatants. FLL's statement on Thursday comes days after Mali announced it had intercepted equipment including 20 pneumatic cannons, 4,000 turbines, 3,280 pairs of Rangers boots, 4,000 fatigues, and 1,040 patches bearing the movement name.
Christopher Aticho reporting there. Still in the Sahel, Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye, appointed African Union Special Envoy for the Sahel, was received on Thursday by the Burkinabe Transitional President, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Their meeting followed a telephone conversation with the President of Mali, General Assimi Goïta. He said, and I quote, "I'm delighted with the quality of the meeting I just had with my counterpart from Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré." Ndayishimiye declared on his X account, stating that they had constructive discussions within the framework of the mission entrusted to him by the EU. On July 17, Angolan President João Lourenço, who is also the current chair of the African Union, appointed Evariste Ndayishimiye as his special envoy for the Sahel. The African Union gave the Burundian head of state a clear mission to help resolve the security and humanitarian issues affecting this important region of Africa. We head now to Niger, where is the country set to mark the second anniversary of its military coup on Saturday, July 26, 2025. As a reminder, on July 26, the Nigerian military ousted President Mohamed Bazoum, accusing him of poor governance and failing to adequately address the country's growing terrorism threat. Led by General Abdurrahman Chani, the military junta promised to prioritize national security and restore stability. But 2 years on, concerns are mounting over the effectiveness of the fight against insurgency, with many questioning whether the promised progress has truly been achieved. Abdoulaye Ada Hassan is coordinator of One Niger for Justice and Equity movement.
They
said they'll fight insecurity so that Nigerians can live in complete security in the territory, wherever they are. We wanted to remind them of the order. First, with the insecurity that is increasing every day, we asked the CNSP to put in place a lot of adequate means to respond proportionally to the insecurity and terrorism that we are facing.
The voice of Abdoulaye Ada Hassan, coordinator of One Niger for Justice and Equity. Away from the Sahel, an African Union delegation is currently in the Guinean capital, Conakry, 2 months ahead of the constitutional referendum scheduled for September 21, 2025. The primary objective of this mission is to assess the country's institutional, logistical, and political readiness to support the transition toward a return to constitutional order. Additionally, the AU delegation plans to hold meetings with representatives of the political class and civil society organization. Here is Calixte Aristide Mbari, head of the AU delegation to Conakry.
This mission is to listen to the different actors and to make the expertise of our organization available to the authorities of the Guinean people to support them in their efforts to allow the country to bring all of its sons together around a common project.
For his part, the president of the National Transitional Council, Dansa Koroma, briefed the mission on ongoing works, including submission of the draft constitution to General Mamadou Doumbouya and preparations for the September referendum.
We have explained the actions that are underway and those that are in the projects and strengthened the process of returning to the constitutional order, which must not be seen only at the prism of the holding of the referendum or elections.
Dansa Koroma is president of the National Transitional Council of Guinea.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we stream live on wadr.org. The Senegalese president, Diomaye Faye, is making a 24-hour visit at the invitation of his Togolese counterpart, Faure Singbe. The two countries will discuss economic cooperation. The meeting will also focus on the countries of the Confederation of Sahel States, AES. Here's an update with Augustine Coley.
This is the Senegalese president's first official visit to the country since his inauguration on March 24, 2024. The visit is part of a sub-regional tour initiated by the Senegalese president, which has already taken him to Côte d'Ivoire and Benin. It aims to strengthen cooperation between Togo and Senegal, particularly in key sectors such as trade. Diplomatically, the meeting could also serve as a forum for consultation on ongoing efforts to reintegrate Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso into ECOWAS. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Faure Singbe are both engaged in regional mediation efforts between the two AES confederations and the West African Organization. As a reminder, Singbe and Diomaye Faye were appointed a year ago by ECOWAS as facilitators of the consultations with the Alliance of Sahel States, whose withdrawal should be finalized by September after expiration of the 6-month grace period. After his visit to Lomé, the Senegalese head of state will travel to Monrovia, Liberia this Saturday, where he will participate in the celebration of the country's 170th Independence Day.
A report filed in by Augustine Cooley. In Nigeria, the European Union on Friday said it is reviewing relations with the country to assist in addressing some of the pressing challenges the different sectors are facing. The European Union ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Gautier Magnot, also called for additional efforts to assist Nigeria in dealing with malnutrition affecting 2 million children in the northeast and northwestern regions. Gautier Magnot, who made the call on China's television on Friday, said that the withdrawal of aid by the United States and other partners had created a huge gap in the provision of therapeutic food for the affected children. WADR's Usman Umar reports.
Ambassador Gautier Magnot explains that, aside the humanitarian and security challenges, the EU is committed to developing other sectors.
We are trying to harness this dynamism and working through a global gateway strategy on sectors like health, to develop local manufacturing capacities, digital economy, transport, renewable energy, climate-smart agriculture, and at the same time also address needs in terms of education and humanitarian needs like in nutrition in particular. So we are trying to adjust to these different realities of today's Nigeria.
There are currently 3.5 million children in severe acute malnutrition, in particular 2 million in the northwest and northeast, and these need assistance through therapeutic food. The envoy said, though there are local producers of rapid-use therapeutic food, there is a need for the importation of the item to meet the demands. So far, 37 million euros has been donated by the European bloc to assist IDPs, refugees and host communities in conflict-affected zones of Nigeria. Gautier Magnot suggests a long-term strategic response.
There is a short-term and a medium to long-term challenge. The medium to long-term challenge is to strengthen value chain in agriculture and make sure that food is available and affordable for all Nigerians. And this is also something that we take into account through a global gateway strategy to try to help in this endeavor. But then there is the short-term challenge of saving lives, basically. So there is now a need for additional effort to cover these needs and ensure that the supply of therapeutic food is not disrupted in a few weeks' time.
The EU's observation is, however, not new. Vice President Kashim Shettima had raised the alarm over the scale of malnutrition in Nigeria, warning that the condition was depriving nearly 40% of children under the age of 5 of their full physical and cognitive potential. Insecurity, displacements, climate change, and the harsh economic situation are some notable drivers of Nigeria's humanitarian crisis.
Usman Umar with that report. Meanwhile, Liberian President Joseph Boakai has issued an executive clemency resulting in the release of over 70 inmates from the Monrovia Central Prison. Among those released are convicts who had already served their sentences for misdemeanor offenses but remained incarcerated due to an inability to pay restitution amounts not exceeding $2,000. Critically ill inmates with documented medical records, elderly prisoners aged 50 and above, convicted for non-capital offenses who demonstrated good behavior, and convicts with no more than 2 years remaining on their sentences were included in the clemency. The Liberian head of state also considered inmates who had served significant portions of their sentences between 10 and 15 years and exhibited good behavior while imprisoned. The released inmates include 2 foreign nationals, 1 from Sierra Leone and 1 from India, 4 females and 1 juvenile.
You know what it means for young people who should be serving society? We should be helping to make things better. To be honest, these kind of condition is not the best thing. And we've been told about the conditions, and I wish you people were sent here. Some of you, because you didn't have anybody to talk for you, a short time where you're supposed to be for just about a couple of days. You've been here for years. But again, this is a condition. But I can tell you one thing, that even as a human being, looking at the buildings and the conditions here, it doesn't serve any good purpose for any of us here. Look at these kind of conditions here and leave them this way to continue. And today we're here to talk to you people, to encourage some of you. Every country has a prison. Every country has to go through a legal system to correct some of the things that people do. But we want to encourage you who are here showing good behavior, encourage our citizens, some of the people who have gone beyond to commit crimes. We want to create a good society, give you opportunity. No human being want to live like this. So today we are here having done some investigation to free at least around the country 75 persons. We want to create a society for all.
President Joseph Boakai of Liberia speaking there. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The Azawad Liberation Front of Mali rejects the newly submitted peace charter and rules out any room for negotiation. Senegalese head of state Diomaye Faye arrives in Togo as part of his two-nation West African tour. Niger to mark second anniversary of its military coup on Saturday, July 26, amid escalating insecurity. The European Union pledges support to Nigeria in areas of security and humanitarian relief efforts. We also told that Liberia's Joseph Boakai has granted amnesty to more than 70 prisoners ahead of the country's 178th independence celebration. Ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. Let's now bring you some news about economy. The Ghanaian government has announced a ban on the award of contracts or transactions in Ghana using foreign currencies. The directive issued through the Ministry of Finance is aimed at cracking down on the increasing use of foreign currencies for pricing and contracting in the country. According to Finance Minister Dr. Kassiel Atoforsen, the growing preference for foreign currencies is eroding confidence in the Ghana cedi and undermining the country's economic stability. He made these remarks during the presentation of the 2025 Media Budget Review in Parliament on Thursday. From Accra, Nadiri Tete reports.
Presenting the 2025 Media Budget Review on Thursday, July 24, Finance Minister Dr. Kassiel Atoforsen announced a new directive banning the pricing of goods, services, and government contracts in foreign currencies. The directive, issued by President John Dramani Mahama, took effect the same day. It bars all government agencies from awarding contracts in any currency other than the Ghana cedi, regardless of the source of funding.
Unfortunately, foreign currencies are becoming the means of transacting business in Ghana. This trend, if not checked, will erode the confidence in our currency, drive inflation, and result in the loss of value in the symbol of our sovereignty. To curb this unfortunate development, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has directed that beginning 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by government, irrespective of source of fund, should be denominated in foreign currency.
The minister reminded the public that the Foreign Exchange Act of 2006 prohibits individuals and businesses from pricing, advertising, or receiving payment in foreign currencies without written approval from the Bank of Ghana. Dr. Forson tied the ban to the government's broader efforts to stabilize the economy. He said the cedi has seen strong gains in recent months and it's time for businesses to reflect this by reducing prices. He also thanked Makola traders for raising concerns about exchange rate instability during his consultations and reassured Ghanaians that price and currency stability will be sustained. As part of the mid-year review, the finance minister called for unity, renewed confidence, and national pride in the cedi as a lasting symbol of Ghana's sovereignty.
It has endured, it has evolved, and it remains the only legal tender of our republic. Let us protect it. Let us trade with our currency, the Ghana cedi. Let us talk about it with pride, not as a burden, but as a badge of economic independence. I believe in the cedi. Fellow countrymen and women, you also have to believe in the cedi.
For WADR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
The guest segment takes us back to Mali, where the transitional president, Army General Assimi Goïta, received the Charter of Peace and Reconciliation a few days ago. This charter is based on three fundamental principles: national unity, social cohesion, and reconciliation. Malians are now awaiting the implementation of this text, which replaces the Algiers peace agreement. Bamako says it wants dialogue among Malians without external mediation to achieve true and lasting peace. However, a major player in Mali's peace deal, the Azawad Liberation Front (FLA), has rejected the charter, describing it as a political maneuver. And thus, the question arises, in the context of the country, can this new charter help achieve the much-needed peace and lasting reconciliation? Said Kaba, a journalist and security analyst specialized in the Sahel, has this to say.
La charte actuelle est l'aboutissement d'un processus.
The current charter is the result of a process. From the moment the charter was implemented, the actors involved in the process of appropriation of the charter, since, as we know, the Algerian Accord, which it replaces, was not appropriated by the population and had difficulties in being implemented. Finally, this agreement with Algiers was completed, dissolved in January 2024, and this charter has been replaced, and this charter has become more inclusive, with the exception of extremist groups that have never been a part of it. There are also the challenges now of seeing how the front of the liberation of the Azawad will be positioned, which is a formal coordination of the Azawad movement, signatory to the Algerian Accords.
The charter encourages traditional mediation mechanisms and reparative justice. Peace committees have been established throughout the country to ensure that these two levels are effective. So what should be the strategy to ensure the efficiency of these two levels?
Oui, je crois que ce qui a manqué à l'accord d'Alger, c'est le...
Yes, I think what was missing in the Algiers agreement was appropriation. The agreement was a document of people in the EU. It was not appropriated. From the moment we put the local committees, the departmental committees, the regional committees forward, there is a better chance that this charter will be appropriated and that its implementation will be in consensus with all the parties present. I believe that the approach gives efficiency gauges because it is about involving the populations, not only the signatory parties as we saw in the previous agreements, which explain why the agreements did not work.
Leçon de cet échec-là pour avoir une autre démarche.
Bamako is planning 100% Malian dialogue without external mediation, while Algeria is already proposing it. Algeria, which was a mediator in the peace agreement with Mali, which was eventually broken. So what is the feasibility of a discussion without an arbiter?
Today, the option clearly defined by the authorities of Mali since last year is that of an inter-Malian dialogue without an external intermediary, because external mediation also has disadvantages. The mediators, often when they are several, have their own agenda that is not that of the country. Mali has made the choice of an inter-Malian dialogue without an external intermediary. We have to experiment this way, but the main issue is not external mediation, but the inclusive character. The authorities must have the capacity to make an inclusive agreement as possible, even without an external mediator. If the agreement is inclusive and we take religious and traditional legitimacy as a leading factor for implementation, it can give results.
Speaking of inclusivity, should we expect to have independent armed groups accepting the new peace charter?
Non, je pense que pour l'instant, ils ne vont pas l'accepter.
No, I think that for now, they will not accept it. We have to work with them to see how they can be integrated in the process. Their position today is not to accept a text to which they were not associated from the beginning. But we will have to keep open the channels of discussion with the group that has a political claim. The claim that leads to the creation of a state of Azawad in Moldova that cannot prosper in the current context where we are looking to make great assemblies. From the moment those who have this claim can abandon it, there is a possibility to discuss and find an agreement.
Saidi Kaba is a journalist and security analyst with specialization in the Central Sahel. In the sporting world, the women's AFCON final will be played tomorrow, Saturday, July 26, at the Olympic Stadium in Rabat. The match will be followed at 8 p.m. It will be followed at 8 p.m. The host country Morocco, which eliminated Ghana, will face Nigeria, which knocked out reigning champion South Africa. Morocco, in search of its first continental title, will face a very fit Nigerian team and may play the final without a star. The third place playoff is scheduled for this Friday, and it will pit Ghana against South Africa. The match is scheduled for tonight at 7 p.m. It's worth remembering that the two teams had to face each other at the start of this competition. The Banyana defeated the Ghanaians by a score of 2-0. South Africa, the defending champions, will be looking to take home the bronze medal, and Ghana will be seeking revenge. More on women's sports. Senegal has unveiled its list of 12 players for the Afrobasket. Yes, the national coach Otis Hongle Jr. has released. Of those selected, only 4 took part in the last edition held in Rwanda. Yassine Diop, Sierra Dillard, Fatou Pouye, and Mathilde Diop. Beaten by Nigeria in the final in the 3 of the last 4 editions, Senegal is placed in Group C alongside Guinea and Uganda. The Lionesses will begin the competition against Guinea this Saturday, July 26. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Shekin Jai for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms: X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. We also stream live on WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a rebroadcast of WADR's security program in the Sahel. I'm Abdullah Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM.